here today. Remember the last week, the parables Jesus told us in terms of, which of you would, if you had 100 sheep and lost one, would leave the 99 and go find that one, and which woman would not, if she had 10 coins, lose one, go find it and have a party that's going to cost more than what that coin was worth. And then he used this long story of the prodigal son or the prodigal father. Basically, which one of you, if you had a son like this who disowned you and said, I don't care about you, Dad, I want half my property, your property, and I'm out of here, which one of you would welcome him back with all the finest of the house and say, you're a good son? Like all three have the same answer. Nobody in the right mind. You don't do that. And yet Jesus used that as an example of here's how much the Father loves. He's so ready to forgive, to welcome back again and again. Well, guess what? Today's kind of the other side of that coin. Just like at Mass, we say, holy, 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 in terms of referring to God. At the beginning of Mass, what do we say? Through my fault, through my fault, through my most grievous fault. In other words, there is no comparison between us and God. And so today is simply a reminder in this parable about the reality that someday there's going to be a call for an accounting. Someday you and I are going to have to come before God and say, all right, God, here's how I want to show the way I use all your blessings for me. And so we look at the scripture talks about dishonest wealth. It don't mean dishonest as you and I think. It means it's not your own earning. You didn't earn it. What do we have that we can say is our own making? I think sometimes we're like, I used a story last night about, we're kind of like the guy who was out surfing, enjoying a good day at the beach, and he's surfing in, and and all of a sudden he knows something happened to his board. There's a big bite taken out of it, and he's like, oh God, save me, God. And if you do, I'll give you everything I got. I'll dedicate my whole life to you. And he's paddling for all he's worth. He gets a little further. There's no board there anymore. He's swimming as hard as he can, and he sees the shark coming. And God, I will never fail my tithe anymore. Save me. And all of a sudden, there's a big wave, takes him pretty well to the shore, and he has been swimming. He said, "Well, thank God, I'm a great swimmer. I don't have to keep those commitments." In other words, when things are going good, we kind of take full credit that all we have is because of me. I'm a self-made man. It's all mine. In reality, when we stop and think, what do we have that is not from God? It's all from God, no matter what it is. So today is our call to say, okay, we cannot serve God and mammon. We cannot say, okay, we're going to live by the ways of this world and still somehow think we're living by God's ways. And we make our decisions there. Now, how do we do that? Well, basically, we look at different levels of our life. Certainly, we are people in the world, but we're not of the world. We are called to live in the world, but live as if this is not our permanent home. We got a home we're building somewhere else. We don't belong here forever. And so that we look at how do we build that eternal home. So Jesus uses the example of making friends now that will help later on. We might look at those as future saints, if you will. So how do we do that? Well, we look at our material things and say, how do we use our materialities to help the less fortunate? The Catholic Church is the largest charitable organization on the face of the earth. But that doesn't give us reason for saying, well, I don't have to do anything. We're good. No, we're never good. We're always having to look and say, how can I better help others? We live in a time right now where many people are afraid that we're going to become another socialist society. No, and the church is not for socialism. That's not the way we redistribute wealth. We're called as Christians to freely look at how God has blessed me and say freely, how can I help others be lifted up? So using that gift, we seek to help others in some way or other. And we're also called then to look at, of course, our education, our other talents that we have, and say, how do I use them to really benefit and lift others up? And with that, we can look at the reality that, this unjust steward, and again, we say unjust because he's taking credit for what he had. It's not his own. But we look at our call to be a people of prayer. Second reading today, St. Paul reminds us, pray for those who are in authority, because without prayer, we know nothing is going to succeed. No matter who they are, no matter how much we like the king or the emperor or the president or whoever they are, there is a need to pray for them. We are called to pray that they respond to God's grace to help be a nation of people of peace so we can, in tranquility, live out our Christian faith. It's an important thing to be able to do. In other words, that we can have freedom of conscience. And we need to be praying for the leaders of other countries as well, that their people can have freedom of conscience. Because there's certainly a large part of the world where that is not the case. We're seeing right now what's going on in China. Terrible, especially as they look at Hong Kong. People who have experienced freedom and now are being forcefully pulled back into a socialistic type regime. So pray for them, but then pray for local leaders. Pray for the church. The church is really having, in many ways, a tumultuous time right now. As leaders, we need to be praying for the Pope and for the cardinals and the bishops that they use the wisdom God has given them to also help us address many of the problems that we're facing within the church. Today, look at who we are. What gifts has God given us materially, intellectually, in terms of talents, and the time we have. Am I taking the time that I need to come before God as a person of prayer? Now, that's not just for monks to do. That's for all of us, because we all are in the world. So we're out there where we know what's going on, and because of that, need to be praying for those individual concerns and those needs. Okay? And again, glad you're here today. Hopefully, get time to discover, learn one other person. Find somebody you don't know and get to know them before the day's over. All right? In confidence, now let's stand and together proclaim the creed of our faith.